I guess. All right. Okay, Lauren Grace here, and welcome to the show. And I'm joined today by Michelle Mary-Sophia Lee. She is the co-founder with her daughter, Megan Camille, of the Sophia Mystery School for Extraordinary People. That actually makes me feel emotional and goosebumps all at one time. She's a women's empowerment mentor and recently learned during an ayahuasca journey that she carries the Mary-Sophia Codex. She started on her soul's path of empowering women by helping them to reclaim their power in the birthing process over 27 years ago. Michelle is a mystic, a psychic, and a direct conduit of Mary Sophia, Mother of Jesus. She deeply understands that for humanity to thrive, women must first thrive. Michelle's sole purpose and mission is to transform the female experience on earth by helping women awaken to and embody their divinity, value, and soul's purpose. Girl, her clients skyrocket their self-worth and confidence, which then manifests as financial freedom. Yes, please. Purposeful, meaningful, and joyful living in all ways. I accept. Women working with Michelle learn to accept, access, trust, and follow their inner wisdom to create the life that feeds their soul. And she's joining me today to talk about spirit guides, ascended masters. We're going to focus on Mother Mary, Mary Sophia. What's that all about? How to reclaim and relearn to harness your power, and using plants such as ayahuasca to fast track, or is it a fast track on your spiritual journey? So Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I got to say, I'm feeling the vibes.
Oh, thank you. It's my honor and pleasure to get to be here with you, Lauren. Thank you.
So you've had such an interesting journey. What sort of kicked it all off? You know, have you always been intuitive? Have you always been a realized psychic? When did you know that, you know, there was something other than just this human world?
Even as a young girl, I was looking for answers. I was, since 10 years old, asking about religion and God and who's right and what's the real God. I was always looking for that. And I'm claircognizant, I can ask questions and answers drop in. As in about fourth grade, when I figured that out, when I had the first sign that was true. I did shut it down quite a bit. I'm definitely, as a little girl, did realize that I saw things were obvious to me in people's patterns and their behaviors. And I would call them out, and they didn't much appreciate that.
A little bit of a know-it-all.
Yeah, I could just see like their behaviors, and I would sense they're lying, and they didn't like that I could see the things they were trying to hide behind masks. So I definitely shut it down for a while, and it really showed up again after my third baby, and I really suffered from postpartum depression and anxiety. Mm-hmm. And that's when like my intuition kicked in, and I thought to myself, this is not how childbirth should be. Of course, now I don't believe in shoulds or anything, but I thought there's a better way to experience having new babies. Like, as women, we're literally the portal from spirit to form, and experiencing all this pain and emotional trauma when I have this new baby, I thought there must be a better way. And that's, that was back in 1996, right? And I started looking for a way to support women in having a different experience. And that's when I found hypnobirthing. And my process, my soul purpose just kind of snowballed and evolved from there to now, almost 30 years later, plant medicine and sacred sacraments to really speed up the process.
Oh, I love that a lot. Just before we kind of go into a little bit, because I want to talk to you a little bit about, how did you sort of overcome that trauma? Like, what is hypnobirthing, just for people who may not be familiar with it. I do want to go back to claircognizance for a second. I think that our listener at home may be already familiar, but I just wanted to let them know that that's like a clear knowing. So it's essentially when information drops in and you just know it's truth. Do you find that claircognizance sort of kicks off some of your other abilities, or because I've heard before that, sometimes you can have clear cognizance and then open your clear audience, which is clear hearing, or your clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. So for you, how does it sort of work? And when did you realize that you were clear cognizant? Because I find that it's a really interesting ability, because a lot of people feel the need to justify the information that they get, right? When sometimes it's just this inner knowing where you go, I don't want to go there. I don't know why. It's just not right for me. Or I know that's truth. I don't know why. It's just truth. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a psychic ability that can really be hidden, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I don't know, there's not a lot of bells and whistles, In the 4th grade, I remember playing with some friends, and we were talking about policemen, and I said, I wonder why they're cops and why we call them cops. And the answer dropped in, and I just said it. I said, oh, we call them cops because their badges were made of copper and all of that. And then within that week in class in school, we actually learned about the origins of that. And that was my first experience going, oh, I already knew that. And so I think it was, it probably kicked off some of my other being able to have visuals, but I'm not a super visual person. I'm not a super clairaudient person. When I work with clients, it drops in. It just drops in and comes out of my mouth. Occasionally, I'll have visions for my clients, and which will lead me to helping them heal something. But it comes to me as ideas. And most recently, people have asked me, because I built my business as a single mom with 3 kids, and they would ask me, how did you do that? And my answer was always, I couldn't not do it. I was compelled. And that's how my intuition really works, is like, I am compelled to do something, and it's as if that I can't do it. I can't not do it. It'll bug me and bug me and bug me until I take the step. So claircognizance has been like the leader for me. I think it can definitely lead to other psychic abilities, but for me, it hasn't been necessary.
I was going to say it's almost not necessary when you just get the information and know things. When you were talking, I was thinking about, I can't remember where I learned this, if it was Bob, I don't know. I don't even want to name drop because I don't think it'll be accurate. But one of the things that I remember learning about was, why aren't we taught this stuff in school, where you can go in and do a test and just open up your psychic senses and just have all the information drop in? I kind of feel like, and off the top, I said that we were going to talk about relearning. Sometimes I think about the past lives that I've lived, or all of the ready information that's there in the ether, waiting for us to tap into, but we're just not really kind of, I guess, maybe encouraged or trained to be able to open up to that. So with your clear cognizance, would you be able to, let's say, go and write a test on something, on a subject that you're not familiar with? Does it work in that level as well, like in a practical level? Could you go and play piano if you had never played before, or would there be a challenge maybe with the muscle memory?
Well, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking that. I think absolutely, right? So I think you definitely could, if it mattered to you enough. I'm not interested in playing the piano. What I'm interested in is bringing in past life experiences around magic and around spiritual activations. And I really trust myself in that. Like, you can hear people getting, going through education and experiences of being what activated as a priestess or something. And that's where I really feel like, oh, I'm bringing that in from another lifetime. I've been a priestess, a shaman. I've been all of these things. And so when I see something or listen to a training or something, it triggers something, and then I can fall directly into it. It's a matter of self-trust, a matter of self-trust. And that's what's the most important.
I feel like the listener and myself are both going, I want that. So, how do you sort of access that? Is that part of the training that you do? Is that kind of almost in the same vein as the hypnobirthing, where you kind of like go into a different state of mind and you're just sort of open to the information? Is a lot about that, about intention. And then after that, I'd love to talk about the subject of magic, but I'll lead us there.
Okay. Yeah, it is about intention and declaration, and really being willing to let go of outside approval, right? Really letting go of that to trust yourself. For me, if I sit down in meditation to download information, I won't get anything.
Oh,
I won't
interesting.
get anything, right? It's really about setting the intention or making the declaration and then just following where it leads to me. Like I said, I will be compelled to do something and listening to my body. Today's a great example. I was meant to call a friend and connect and chat. And what was really coming up in my body is I didn't want to. I wanted to attend this other thing. And it was like, I was shitting myself, like I should make this call, and
Right.
oh, what's she going to think? I'm going to disappoint her. But in my body, it just felt wrong. And so I did reschedule and did the thing I really wanted to do. And I could feel the expansion. So it's kind of like making the declaration of how I want to feel, what I want to know, what I want to create, and then letting it go and following how my body feels.
That's so good. So is that about manifestation? And, there's different schools of thought on manifestation, right? As though you talk about it as though the thing's already here. The way that I've sort of understood that you're putting out there is you're going, I declare XYZ, and now I'm going to release and I'm going to allow, the powers at will, let's say, and co-create with them to bring that about.
Exactly. It's just putting it there, because everything is in the ethers, right? Everything we desire to know, everything we desire to experience, it's swimming around. It's in the potential of the energy within us, around us. So it's making the declaration. I prefer the word declaration over intention, because intention feels so passive. Like, well, I intend this, but if it doesn't happen, that's fine. And it's like a funny cosmic joke around intentions and declarations, because you want to make the declaration and not be attached to how it comes, right? And like, this is something we talk about doing sacred sacraments or plant medicine, is have your intentions, make your declarations, and then let it go. Right? Let it go. And my experience is if I make a declaration for say, okay, this week I want to bring in $10,000 with ease and grace and joy and love. And right. Yes. 10 grand. Let's do it. Right. I'm open. And like, I have a blow up in my marriage, and I go, that's, I intended money, and now I'm distracted by this marital problem that we're having. That blow up in the marriage is to reveal what needs to be healed to become a resonant match with my intention.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a lot about, okay. All right. So I want to break it down a little bit. So let's just say you intend to attract $10,000 and you put it out there to the universe. You declare it. Sorry, not intend, you declare it. And I like that a lot, because that's you taking ownership a little bit more, which, I'm definitely going to bring in declare versus intention moving forward. So you declare to move that. And then you kind of have to forget about it. And then these things happen in your life, which are saying, hey, you have these unhealed wounds that need to be resolved in order for you to be almost a vehicle to receive, or almost in alignment of being able to receive. So what
Yes.
are some of the biggest challenges that you see people having? And one of the things that, I see in a lot of people that I talk to and work with, and even in myself, I guess, is about feeling good enough, or feeling worthy of receiving, or trusting the process. You kind of talked about letting things go. I know for me, sometimes I need to like remember to relax and just chill out. Yeah. So what are some of the patterns that you see a lot of people have, and how do you kind of assist them, or how would you recommend that they sort of get started with helping to heal that so that they can have this abundant life?
The worthiness is a big one, right? Like, I somehow have to justify living in abundance. And we hear this all the time. People say, it's not like I don't need a lot. We're not here just to fulfill our needs, right? We're
Yeah.
here to live abundantly. So it's not about
Yeah.
need, it's about joy and expansion and freedom. And it has nothing to do with worthiness. And so really uncovering, like, what does it mean? I mean, when we talk about worthiness, it goes so deep, right? It goes so deep of, well, if I have, then I'm robbing somebody else. This whole lack and limitation program that is in the matrix. It's why we came here to play. I mean, if we didn't want to experience lack and limitation, we would have stayed one with the divine, where there was no lack and no limitation. So one, it's really understanding that, there's a part of me that is really loving this experience of lack and limitation. And that's the shadow work of it, is going, part of me really loves being powerless. Part of me loves feeling restricted, because maybe then I don't have to make big decisions, or I
Or I
don't
don't
have
have
to
to own my
anything.
responsibility within that either, right? Sorry to cut you off.
Exactly. So it's diving deep in all of those. We're so multifaceted as human beings, right? And it's understanding, one, there's a part of me that absolutely loves this restriction and embracing that aspect. And there's a part of me that actually loves feeling worthless. Like, oh no, I can't have the money. Let them have it. I don't deserve that. That is a sensational feeling. Like, that brings up so much sensation in the body that, it's like, I was talking with my daughter, we do the Sophia Mystery School together, and we have these conversations on the daily, right? Like, oh my God, like having this roller coaster in my, it feels just as sensational feeling powerless and unworthy as it is having the wealth. It is literally an emotional roller coaster, and we get on roller coasters, or we do things that are scary. We watch those scary movies, or because it's fun to feel the fear. And it's no different when we're experiencing lack and limitation, or we're experiencing being worthless. There's a part of us that our soul part of us that came here to experience that. So embracing that, and knowing that one of the medicine messages that I received recently on a journey was, I asked the question, the very human question of, how do I make $42,000 this month? Again, I did it the last 2 months. How do I do it again? And the voice in medicine just laughed. That's all you want? That's all you want?
Oh, shit.
And it showed, this was a vision I had. I saw the dam breaking, and the voice said, you built the dam in the first place. You built the dam in the first place. So it's just releasing the dam. It's going, okay, I'm willing to know and enjoy that aspect of me that loves the limitation, that loves feeling worthless. And then we actually unify our unconscious with our conscious, right? Because it's an unconscious desire to want to experience lack and limitation. We almost feel ashamed, right? Like, especially with like the spiritual community, or what we've been taught spiritually is, well, if you felt worthy, you would have it. If you were good, if you were a good spiritual person and you were aligning with the love and light, you would have it. And that just kind of builds on the shame that we can feel within.
Yeah, it does. Because you're like, okay, there's something about me that's built the dam and that's keeping the dam strong. It's my fault. And that's ego, I guess, coming into it. But I keep getting the word in my head, like martyrdom, where we're like, let me show you, let me be the example of, someone doing it real tough. I mean, yeah. So how do we combat that? How do you look at it and go, okay, I built the dam in the first place. So one of the words, I get that. One of the words that I'm hearing in my head is the word acceptance. It's like accepting that these are all the different facets of yourself. I mean, is that part of it, or?
How about celebration? How about celebrating? Like there's the piece that fulfillment is more real than deprivation. So we're never actually being deprived, just fulfilling unconscious desires. So when you go, oh, this experience that I'm having, there's an aspect of me, an unconscious aspect of me that actually wants this experience, right? And then celebrating the fulfillment of that manifestation, because we're always manifesting. We're never not manifesting what we want. If it appears we're not manifesting what we want, we're just manifesting our unconscious desires. So it's making that conscious and celebrating, oh, look at this. I manifested lack and limitation, and actually feeling the emotions that come up around that and celebrating it instead of trying to suppress them. I know that was a lot.
I feel like my brain's exploding a little bit, which is good, because I feel that, this is really apropos for me at the moment. So I need to kind of just break this down in a little bit. So, okay. I believe we come to Earth and we are here to experience, challenges. We're here to experience light and shade. We're here to, basically experience life. Okay. For the creator. That's a big part of it. I mean, I'm still figuring a lot of this out, let's be fair, but I think it's all about experience. So when you are in joy and light all the time, you wouldn't understand what it's like to be in joy and light all the time, because you wouldn't have anything to compare it to. You wouldn't have that, maybe the challenges or the feeling sad, to understand that there are these other emotions. So when you're talking about celebrating our unconscious desire, or celebrating like the challenges, maybe the shadow self that we have within, let's say I come to Earth because I've come to Earth for sure to work on self-love. And I think a lot about trusting the process and trusting God. I think those are my big challenges that I've recognized for myself. So by me seeing that within myself, I can almost celebrate the fact that I become aware enough to see my patterns and to understand when I may be acting in that way, or maybe where that's showing up for me. And then is it in this celebration of that we can turn it around? Because even if there's a part of us, the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle talks about, or people have different, I'm sure you have your own version of it. I don't want to actually experience. I don't want to like that. I don't want to like the hard stuff. So can you just talk to me? Did I kind of work that out in the way that's the way that you think too? Or do you think sort of differently? Or did that make sense?
Tell me why you don't want to like that stuff.
Okay. Because I feel like it's limiting my ability to be who I came here to be. Like if, for example, if I don't love myself, enough, or, I love myself, but I mean, like, I work on that. So I just feel that stops me sometimes from wanting to, or from my ability, I guess, to be a bigger change that I want to see in the world. Yeah. So I guess I play small in that way, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's use a strong word. Let's use self-hatred.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you hate yourself, you'll never be able to be who you want to be in the world.
Correct.
Okay. Why is it important to you to be something different than a self-hating person?
Because I think on some level, I know that I came here to do other things, to help empower other people to be their best versions. So if I'm not, being able to be my best version, then I feel like I'm not able to create as much of an impact or assist other people in their journey. And I don't know, I guess I don't like the feeling of, I guess I often tell people there's nothing wrong with you. So maybe there's like nothing wrong with being that way. Thanks for this therapy session live on the show.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Exactly. Right. Well, I mean, it demonstrates for your listeners, right? Like this attachment we have to being a certain way. Yeah. And when we have an attachment of being like, oh, I can't hate myself and be a force in the world, which isn't necessarily true. But as long as you're resisting the self-hatred, and we all have that, and some people don't even like to hear me say it, but sometimes I can go into some major self-loathing, like, oh my God, who do I think I am? And and that was an impossible experience for us to have without falling down into the 3D. Like, so we didn't come here to live in full love and light. In fact, we find it quite boring. There's an unconscious desire for excitement. Right. And the self-loathing is so sensational. It feels heavy. It feels, and it's just like, I'm just going to allow myself to be in this space instead of fearing it. Right. And looking at this aspect of yourself that can deny the love that you are, that can deny the light that you are, and just be with that and actually celebrate that is an opportunity that only you can have here. And when you face that, when you unabashedly, courageously face that aspect of yourself becomes weaker and dissolves.
Right, because you're no longer afraid of it or shamed by it or guilty that you feel that way, that you're able to look at it and go, yeah, you know what? Sometimes that's just the way that I am, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what I'm learning.
It's part of the human experience, and it's unifying all of yourself. You are becoming the whole person. And when you can face that darkness or face that shadow part of yourself and come out of it and be even lighter, that makes you even lighter because you're liberated from that fear now.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then you can do more for your clients. You can do more for the planet because you've gone to the darkness. You're not fearful of the darkness. You've alchemized the darkness by looking it in the face, loving it, celebrating that you get to feel this kind of darkness, which is why we came to the planet.
Yes. Well, how would you describe shadow self? Is the shadow, because really as humans, we put the weight on emotions, don't we? We put a weight and say, fear is a bad emotion, or guilt is a bad emotion, or, love is a good emotion and joy is a good emotion. I mean, is that how we define the shadow self based on the way that we've labeled these emotions? I mean, does the shadow self even really exist if you just celebrate yourself as the being that you are here experiencing life? And I want to share with you this quote. I remember I learned it in high school. I can't remember who wrote it now, but I remember the quote was about how the object of life is to know that we exist even though in pain. And it's like talking about, you know, how, yeah, you never feel more alive than when you're in pain or, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, don't feel what I mean, discomfort brings us present, right? The discomfort brings us to the now. And but the shadow self, to come back to your question of what is the shadow is the unconscious. It's what we don't see, right? Like our ego forms and our ego says, I am a loving person, I am light, I am joy. And you know, we see somebody out in the world raging and we go, oh, I am not that. I am not that, you know, which is not true. We all have an inner rager. We all have, you know, an inner critic of other people. We all have an inner judge. We maybe even have an inner MMA fighter under the right conditions, right? And are you willing to look at that? That's what the shadow is. Yeah, you know, and it's like, and that is what happens is we turn and look at the shadow and go, okay, under the right circumstances, in the perfect storm, I could beat someone up, or I could kill someone to protect my children or protect my family, right? We all have that. And when we cannot awaken fully to the divinity that we are, if we're not willing to accept our shadow, love our shadow, even celebrate our shadow, because our shadow is as much of a gift as our light.
I think that's really beautiful. And I'm, you know, when I'm looking at, when I interview guests, you know, I like to share my own story sometimes, only because I feel like it makes it tangible for the listener. But, you know, I realize how hard I am on myself all the time. And, you know, is that a non-acceptance of shadow or limitation? And so how would you turn people around? Like, there are a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs that listen to this show who I know can connect with being hard on themselves and feeling like maybe they're not making, like they're missing the mark on some level or something. So is that a big part about our inability to celebrate? And when we are hard on ourselves, that we have to, do you turn that, like flip the script and say an affirmation? Do you do some kind of like fancy dance? What do you do to kind of, you know, change that narrative up so you're not sitting in that?
Well, there's nothing wrong with a fancy dance anytime, right? So
Yeah.
fancy dancing it is a great idea. That truly
I'm
shifts.
so hard on myself. I'm going to do a fancy dance, not the
That's right,
fancy
right?
dance. But anyway.
But being hard on ourselves and entrepreneurs, and I can totally relate to that, because as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, we're always looking forward, like, okay, now let's get to that next mark. Let's get to that next mark.
Yeah.
And rarely do we look behind and go, look how far we've come. Right. And that comes from a wounding, right? Like, I am not enough and I have to prove myself. And I talk about the 4 core wounds that revealed themselves through my work with women over the years, which are shame, guilt, fear of abandonment, and fear of rejection. And so being hard on ourselves is a combination of those. Like, I am not enough, I will never be enough. And we keep striving forward and being really hard on ourselves is just a continuation of, it's not even your voice, a continuation of the voices in our heads of when we were growing up. So turning that around is truly getting into deep, deep gratitude for who you are and who you've become, and all the hard things you did last week, last month, last year, and the years before to become who you are today, and celebrating that now. Yeah, because being hard on yourself, we do this mind trick, like, I won't be motivated if I'm not hard on myself. And that's never worked. It's like, oh, that motivates me. Or if I'm good enough, I won't move further forward. Right. But truly opening up to receive the abundance that is available for us, right? Like, taking that dam down that we built is 100% radical self-approval. Radical self-approval.
That's so good, man. I'm getting a lot of feels from that. You know, I'm feeling like shivers, and, I feel excited, and I feel that, having someone like you come on and just remind us of all these things that we already know about ourselves, that there's nothing wrong with us, that why can't I just sit and go, oh, look at me feeling sorry for myself. All right, girl, feel that, and then let's move on. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Knowing that when you're feeling sorry for yourself, that's your inner child, that little girl going, ah, and she's feeling sad. And so
Yeah.
being there for her and like, your emotions are valid and I'm here for you and I'm just going to hold you. Right. And acknowledging those emotions so that then they pass. You're not pushing them down. You're validating, you're reparenting yourself so that you get what you needed to evolve into the person that you are and beyond.
That's so beautiful. I love how you said that. One of the words that you brought up was alchemy, and you also brought up the word magic. And I would love to talk to you about, and look at, for the people on the podcast, they can't hear it, but I have my little magic cup that I'm drinking my coffee out of. And,
So
I want to talk to you about magic. How do you define magic? And can you also explain the difference between magic with a CK versus magic with a C?
yeah. Magic with a C is illusion. So those are the magicians we watch up on stage, and they make things appear to disappear and to appear. So magic with a C is the illusion. Magic with a CK is the being the cause of energy shifting and changing. Right. And so what I love about magic and what I love about ritual magic is that you are the embodiment. It brings you to the knowledge that you are the embodiment of the divine, that you are just one expression of the energy that creates this experience. And as you declare, I am shifting this experience, I am the divine, and this is my world, and this is what I'm calling forward. And so it is a very powerful place to be.
Yes, because oh my God, when you were saying that, I could like see you in the middle of a circle, and you were standing with your hands outstretched, and I could see you like controlling and bringing in the elements, where you're going, I am owning this power, and it's like, I feel so much right now. But yeah, can you feel that? Oh my God. That's really powerful and strong. And, one of the things, like when you're talking, is you're saying, you know what, I am co-creating with everything around me, and I'm going to own that power, and I'm not going to sit here and play small. And like for a lot of us, myself included, we have a lot of wounds around this. I've had past lives where, I was burned, and it's like that stuff is a real burden still now. And I think that's a big part about, us stepping into our truth, remembering our power. How did you kind of overcome that for yourself to be able to step into that power? Is this something that you still struggle with? And how can you encourage people to do that? Because when you said that, that hit me so hard in my heart. I know it to be true. And yet putting it into practice sometimes seems like it's reserved for someone stronger.
It's not reserved for it's
not. I know it's not, but
right?
you're
It's
like,
not. And I do doing magical rituals is a big part of my life. I start my day with it, I end my day with it. Right. I went to a new dentist. We live in a new area. I'm going to a dentist is very scary to me. I feel very vulnerable. Right. I did a ritual around it. And knowing that, there I am one with every caregiver, right? And I did a whole ritual for him. I blessed his hands, not there at the office, but before I went, right?
yeah.
Like, and totally declaring that Archangel Raphael, the healing angel, was blessing him and working through him and connecting us at hearts. And so it's just a matter of picking it up. It's innate within us. It's about strengthening the aura. It's about truly remembering who we are. And to go back to like the being burned at the stake and being hung for our wisdom, we can carry
want to
that.
cry, honestly. Oh,
Yeah.
so
But if we go back to why we incarnated on the planet, right? We came here to forget our power, and we had to go to the extremes to forget our power and to actually fear our power. And in that being burned at the stake, right, was such a clarity, and like we could have never had that experience without being in 3D form. So it's acknowledging that like a part of me wanted that experience, wanted to experience my demise for my power, so I could truly forget who I am. And that was a major message in medicine, is that the greater we forget, the deeper our forgetfulness, the more glorious our remembrance. And that is so true. It's like, having those medicine experiences and feeling the expansion is so profound. And if we didn't have the forgetfulness, if we didn't have the trauma of our past lives, and then we wouldn't have this glorious remembrance of like, wow, this is mind blowing, right? It would just be a Thursday. It would just be what I don't know the statement. It's like it would just be another Thursday in a row of Thursdays. It's like same old, right?
It's so casual. It's like, oh, there I go again, manifesting 42,000 plus,
right? How boring.
Yeah.
How boring.
But I mean, the other part of me is like, yeah, but why would I ever want to go through that to have this great remembering? That just seems crazy at the same time, don't you think?
I can totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that way. And I don't.
You're like, Lauren, you just don't get it, girl. You don't get it yet. Okay, fine.
It's sinking in, right? But it's letting go of the idea that was wrong, that was bad, it should have never happened. Because not only were we the witches burning at the stake, we were the ones lighting the fire. We lit the fire just as often as we were burning.
Whoa.
Makes sense? I mean, there's nothing we haven't been. There's nothing we haven't been. We've been on both sides of the coin. And so here it is, all aspects of it is an act of love. Okay. It's an act of love. Your soul went, you know what? I want to incarnate and I want to experience being burned alive. And, on the other side, there's like, oh, but I am the divine. I could never cause that much pain for somebody, right? But then somebody like your good friend, your good spiritual friend on the soul level says, okay, Lauren, whatever your soul name is, you know what? I will do that for you so you can have that experience. I will forget who I am. I will be so filled with fear, which is unnatural because we're divine beings created in divine love, light, truth, power, right? We are divinity, but I will forget who I am enough, and I will forget who you are to actually create this experience for you. So it's an act of love. Are you familiar with the book? The Little Soul in the Sun?
No, but I'll write it down because I read it.
I refer to this book often. It's by Neil Donald Walsh, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who did Conversations with God.
Yeah.
It's a children's book. It's beautifully written, beautifully illustrated. And I read it to all of my kids when they were young. And it's the little soul goes to God and says, God, I would love to experience forgiveness. I want to forgive. And God says, well, little soul, that's very noble of you, but there's nothing to forgive. everyone's light and love. So this conversation keeps going back and forth, and little soul says, but I want to learn forgiveness. I want to experience forgiveness. And finally, little soul's best friend comes up and says, little soul, I will do something that will require you to forgive me. I will forget who I am. I will forget that I am divine. I will forget that I am one with God. And I will do something so that you can have the opportunity to forgive. And that is what we're doing through all of our lifetimes. We are consensually creating these experiences so that we can have all experiences. And when you can just kind of meditate on that and allow that to overcome you and just like saturate your body, suddenly there's nothing to judge anymore. There's no bad guy. There's no good guy. There's really not even beneath it all, there's no trauma. There's all of that is released. There's the darkness is as important as the light, and you are liberated. I mean, period. You are liberated.
Mic drop. Yeah. Wow. I feel like after this, I'm going to have to go and sit quietly for a while. And just, yeah, it's so, you're right. And, we add those labels on there of good and bad when it's like, we've all signed up to help each other to experience these different things. And so when we argue against what is, or when we don't accept things, and it doesn't mean you have to be like, oh, I'm happy about it. But when we accept things as they are, then we aren't suffering anymore, right? Like you said, then we can feel our emotions, we can process them, we can move forward. And when we remember to stand in our power and to, hold ourselves up strong, I guess in a way we can start to not experience those experiences quite as much. Do you think that's a big part of like those experiences are catalysts for us to find our own power? Because I know, and I'm sure you can relate to this based on, the way that we started the conversation. When you have a challenge or a situation, it encourages you to look deeper within.
Yes.
And if we didn't have that, then I wouldn't, if I didn't have something happen to me that made me, read like Many Lives, Many Masters or, Talking to Heaven or whatever, then I never would have been on this journey to begin with. So there's all of these gifts along the way.
It's all gifts. Absolutely.
Yeah. All gifts.
They're all gifts. And even like you said, so many experiences in my lifetime, if I didn't experience that postpartum depression and traumatic birth experiences, I wouldn't have looked for something different, which then put me on my soul purpose immediately.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And then you could help other people. And if you hadn't gone through that, like I haven't had a child, so I can't relate, but you can. And so you're able to assist other people who have gone through that. And I can assist other people in other areas. One of the things that, came to mind when you were talking was that how, I feel like, and I just had a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago, Simone Lee, and we were talking about the 3D, 4D, 5D. And I realized how, the 3D is when we're all like, well, it's all about me. And then the 4D is all about we. And then the 5D is all about the oneness. And I guess I was just sort of thinking that, while you were speaking, that we do have this tendency to feel as though we're alone, but we're actually not alone. We have spirit guides, we have angels, we have ascended masters. We talked about God in this conversation. How did you first start to connect with spirit guides, your angels? You talk about Raphael, assisting you, Mother Mary on that journey. And, how important do you think it is to be able to navigate being here? Because it's one thing to understand all this stuff or to be working it out, figuring it out and going through it. But when you're supported by, I feel, unseen forces, I feel like it makes it manageable.
Yeah. That's a can of worms, right?
I know. And like 10 minutes to go or something. Hopefully we can talk a little longer, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But really, our spirit guide team, lots of people like to know that they have spirit guides and they're being led and that there's angels and Mother Mary, right? Like I love drawing an oracle card and getting a message from Mother Mary. I was guided to rewrite the Hail Mary prayer through Mother Mary and really make it, because she's a powerful being. Most pictures we see of her, she's very demure, her eyes are closed, and she's not that. Her eyes are open, and she is funny, she is powerful, right? Like she was very aware that she got to bring the light into this planet, and she knew the hardships that would incur. Bottom line, all of those aspects are us. And we use those. I have a spirit guide team and I do Akashic record readings and I tell people about their spirit guides and positive and negative spirit guides and getting rid of the negative ones and all of those things. But the bottom line is they are a reflection of us. And when you truly know your power, and just like doing magic, I call in the archangels, but what I'm doing is I'm creating the archangels to work on my behalf. Right. And it's just a moment of pretending that there's an out there. There is no out there, right? And so when we get to that point, and like these are stepping stones of like, I'll use cards to see what's coming up for me, which is a great way to use symbolism so our subconscious can speak to us. Or I'll rely on my guides and teachers and angels, or I'll call on these archangels, because we're diverting our power. We're like, I'm not powerful, but I have these angels watching over me. But the truth is, we create those beings. They are us, and we are the power.
Right. So we've it's like it's our power personified into a form that we can understand. And, while you're talking, have you read Claire Stone's book, The Female Archangels?
No, I have not.
Oh, I highly recommend. She's amazing. I'm like a super fangirl of hers. I talk about her stuff all the time. But one of the things that I was reading about in her book was she was talking about the higher self and Archangel Michael. And she's basically saying that, we bring in Archangel Michael to cut our cords and everything. She goes, but what about bringing in your higher self to cut all your own cords? And that was the first time that I'd really heard it expressed in a way that went, wait a minute. Yeah, why can't I just do this? And, I tried it for a while, and then I actually been bringing Archangel Michael back in. So maybe that's a like gentle reminder for me to remember that I can bring myself in as well. But it really reinforces what you're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. We're sovereign beings. We're sovereign. And we, this awakening now, 50 years ago, fewer and fewer people knew this, but we're awakening and all of the energy is shifting. We're becoming more aware of our divinity, our power, and reclaiming it, right? Instead of being told, you need to be afraid of this and afraid of that. And, this God is your savior and all of that. And reclaiming like, I don't need a middleman. I don't need a middleman. I am the divine.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you know that, and when you, like, for me, I feel in a way, it's like aspire to be that, but when you start acting like that, you become that. I talk about that. I'm sure you do too, about, well, who do you want to be? And then acting like them now. And then you turn yourself into that, right? Which is alchemy, I suppose. And,
Yes.
I love how you're talking about that. So it's kind of like showing up now by doing these small steps is going to help you to step into that power. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. It's embodying it, even for a few moments every day.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going, this aspect of me exists. Right. I remember years ago when I was divorcing and I was just starting my business, and it was like, okay, I get to be that successful coach. I get to be that. And I would literally step into that successful coach. How would I feel knowing that my calendar is full? How would I feel knowing that I have regular payments coming in? What would I do? What would I do? Right? Even if I had no clients coming in, what would I do? And knowing that that aspect of myself already existed, that future self is already there. And so aligning with those emotions and those feelings and those actions then brings me together with that future self.
Yeah. Do you do that through ritual? Do you sit and I know Abraham Hicks talks about, I can't remember the exact word right now, but they basically sit in their workroom or something along those lines, where you sit and you imagine you're going through that. I mean, how do you have to be that intent? I was going to say intentional about it, and then I wanted to change my mind. Do you have to declare it? Like, I was trying to think about my new word on that. Yeah. So how do you kind of go about doing that? You know, and while you're talking here, I have a real desire to like stand in the middle of my room and go, I am ready. I'm here. I've arrived. I declare blah, blah, blah. You know, is that part of it?
That's actually exactly what I would do. I would stand up and step to the right? Like, okay, now I am stepping into the body of success. I am a successful coach, and I would literally physically step into it. So you're bringing the somatic system into it and feeling like, okay, this is who I am now.
Beautiful. And then as soon as you're kind of sitting there in that power, then you can like continue with your day because you've made that intention to shift into that. I love that a lot. I love that a lot. So one of the things just before, do you have a few more minutes to chat? I know we're
Absolutely.
at the hour. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Michelle. So one of the things that I did want to talk to you a little bit, I want to go back to the spirit guide thing for a minute, just because, or the ascended master concept, because so when you're talking about, you know, connecting with Mother Mary or Mary Sophia, do you kind of see that as a version of yourself personified? Or can you talk a little bit about your relationship with that? Or is it even worth going in? Did you kind of just, have we, you know, kind of talked enough about that concept? Because there's a lot of different ascended masters and not everyone's going to connect with everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just interested in how your connection with that and how you, what any of your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I felt connected to the Marys for a long time. And I'll admit 20 years ago is like, I want Mary Magdalene. She seemed to be cooler. But the truth is that Mother Mary is who I represent. It's who I've been a mother since a very young age. And I've been different kinds of mothers, from stepmom to mothers to my kids' friends. They all wanted to call me mom. My clients have felt with me. So it's like that unconditional love that we all want from our mothers, and that we all require to feel. And so when Mother Mary came to me in medicine, she was very much like, you know, and she came to me, it was she who came to me with my intuition, like childbirth should be different than this, right? That was very much her going, absolutely, you know, childbirth gets to be orgasmic, you know, at the very least, peaceful and calm and painless. And so, yes, I do lean to her. And I did the Hail Mary, I rewrote the Hail Mary, and I feel like I just downloaded her. And now she's just always there. I don't have to be that intentional or declarative about it anymore. It's just like, it's just the energy that she's there, that I birthed the world. And Mother Mary, you know, it came to me Mary Sophia because the Sophia is the birther of the world. She is the divine mother. And we kind of lost it. We lost her in religion. Right. And so the Mary Sophia, all of our ascended masters that are the feminine, all of the goddesses carry the Sophia Codex, right? It's like the divine feminine. So I carried that in her name. And it was shared with me, and I was like very nervous about it. It's like, own the name. I'm like, oh, do I like put it on my social media? Do I share that? It's like, absolutely. And that was part of the integration of downloading the frequency of the Divine Mother. So it's downloading the frequency. And so, yeah, by all means, whoever you're attracted to, if you're attracted to particular ascended masters, archangels, then just like totally work with them and bring them into your sphere, call them in during your sleep time, right? Like put me in a bubble of Archangel Raphael, and I want to download the wisdom of Archangel Raphael, right? You can download any of that.
That is so good. I'm not familiar with what you mean by the Sophia Codex. Can you talk a bit more about that?
It's a frequency, simply a frequency of the divine feminine, right? And divinity, I really see as genderless. It's the Sophia Codex is the divine feminine. It's the energy of the feminine, the energy of being receptive, the energy of being visionary, right? All that we see, the life-giving, right? Like we envision and then we birth it.
I hope
that
good.
That
yeah.
helps.
And well, it's a frequency. I think I'll meditate on that and see what I can get as well for my own, journey. Cause we do live in a real sort of male dominated society. And I feel like the divine feminine and feminine power is really coming to the forefront though now, which is just so wonderful. And leaders like you, are really assisting in that. But, it seems to me that, sometimes we think that maybe to be feminine, we can't also be a creator. We can't also be, powerful, but really we can be everything within that frequency or that vibration, I guess.
Yeah, the feminine is power.
Yeah.
Right? Like the power, I mean, I use birth a lot because
I was going to say birth is a perfect
right?
example.
Right. I mean, we grow human life in our bodies. We take the spiritual, just like I said, the non-physical, and through our bodies, it becomes physical. And then we birth a human from nothing. Amazing. Right? Like that's the divine feminine. And of course, we have the masculine within us, that part where we take action, but we've been trained and programmed to think that action is the only way. Take action, take action, take action. And yes, we must take action, but it's inspired action. And the quiet time and the receptive time to be still and receive is required as much as the action is required.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know if you follow Abraham's teachings, Esther Hicks, but I love their teachings. And they talk a lot about like putting out there and then stop doing all the time, like allow things to just happen. We don't have to always kind of control and do stuff. We are at the end of our time together. We didn't get to talk as much about the plant kingdom as I was hoping to. So maybe we'll have to have a part 2 somewhere in the future. But if somebody was interested in exploring getting to know the plant kingdom as well, because you've sort of talked a little bit about some of the incredible wisdom that you've garnered from working with plants, how would you recommend that they sort of get started? Are there some books that you recommend? Would it be working with you, and do you find that connecting with the plant kingdom is the same as connecting with the elementals? Or are they all one? Any thoughts just on that before we kind of wrap here? I know it's a difficult subject to talk about in 2 minutes. Good luck.
Right. Well, Mother Gaia has given us everything we need to fully awaken and remember who we are. And part of those are plant medicines. And yeah, if you're interested in learning more about plant medicines, you can reach out to me at Michelle at the Sophia Mystery School. We are taking a group of people in July to Colombia for an ayahuasca awakening, where you get to do 4 journeys with ayahuasca, grandmother ayahuasca, led by the mother-daughter shaman team there on their land, their property. They've been doing this for decades there. And also I do private medicine retreats. So one-on-one, you can do your journeys and be supported. And I work privately with women who want to reconnect with their divinity and integrate their shadow to actually manifest what they consciously want by integrating that unconscious shadow and celebrating what she's been wanting. So reaching out to me at that. I think you have all of the links.
Yes, I will. I'll put all that. And I know there's a free gift as well in our show notes as well for you, which is the Higher Self Wisdom Prayer. So thank you so much in advance for that as well. Can I just quickly ask you what a ayahuasca journey is like? I've never gone on one myself. I have read about them. Is it, how long does it last? Do you have to be, I mean, some people, like, I would be afraid of it, I guess. But yeah,
it's scary.
Yeah.
It's a
lot of throwing up is kind of what I
yeah, I know. And it's funny because I remember, I've sat with ayahuasca now 9 times.
Wow.
And I remember, like, in the beginning being so afraid of the purging, and you don't purge every time. And it's interesting, how something that scares us, if we just do it a few times, we become much more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so ayahuasca journeys last typically between 5 and 7 hours. It can be less than that. It's very healing. I just like plant medicine. Ayahuasca is like 20, 30 years of therapy in like just revealing the unconscious. That's where I really came face to face with my shadow, right? And got to understand the shadow and really make peace with it and do a lot of healing, past life, this life. The grandmother, the intelligence of the medicine, knows exactly what you need, and every journey is different. And when we go to Colombia, you do 4 journeys, you do 4 consecutive journeys. And so it just goes deeper and deeper in healing and releasing from your body. Yeah, I highly recommend. So when we take a group in July, family members are going. I was the first one to take the leap with plant medicine, and everybody was just kind of following. And now my daughter has been, my son-in-law has been, my parents haven't done ayahuasca, but they've done other plant medicine. And so it's just been this ripple effect that has been so healing in our family as well.
Oh, that's so cool. And I mean, I love that, microdosing is a thing. And I love that a lot of people are getting so much healing from mushrooms and, working with the cannabis plant. Like there's just so much that has sort of been under lock and key, but it's like been in our backyard. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, it's a whole other discussion. Right. Sounds to me like that's a real fast track, though, if somebody's really wanting to get some shit over with, I guess.
Yeah. It is a super fast track.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? I'll put a link to all of your contacts and everything like that in the show notes. I've absolutely loved talking to you, Michelle. It's really difficult to talk about these incredible subjects within a limited time frame. So anything you feel claircognizantly that you'd like to drop right now, I would like to invite you to take the space.
Sure. I think my invitation is to download my free gift. It's a declarative prayer. I don't even like to use the word prayer, but it was something that I had downloaded to me years ago. And since doing plant medicine, it has evolved. And it's this declarative prayer that supports you in discernment, which is so important right now with lots of misinformation, disinformation,
Yes.
and to increase your psychic abilities. And it, you know, says things like, I see with the eyes of the divine, with perfect clarity, I see divine truth. And so we go through all of the senses of knowing divine truth, taking divine action, and being a divine impact on the people around you. So increase all of your psychic abilities and your discernment. So, and it's beautifully printed. All you need to do is download it. We made it so pretty. You can sit it on your altar. You can put it next to your bed so that you recite this daily declaration as often as possible.
I love that. And that's just really reinforcing the entire conversation here, which is you stepping into your power and you deciding, you know what, I want to own my power. I want to own my future. I want to own my shadow and my light. And I want to be the version of myself that I know myself to be. And I think it starts with doing something exactly like that, right? With that taking that stance every day and going, I will own this day. This day will not own me.
Exactly. I love that. Perfect.
Thank you so much for being here, my sister. I've just loved getting to know you, and I look forward to maybe talking to you again in the near future on the show.
I would love to. Thank you.